Hello everyone, welcome back to Heroic Hollywood's YouTube channel. After a brief break, we're back to publishing videos just in time to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. After all, did you think we'd miss it? So be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you know exactly when we're uploading. So it finally happened. Zack Snyder's Justice League hit HBO Max and it was all we could imagine. With a 4-hour runtime that was a breeze to get through, fans and critics absolutely loved what Zack Snyder had to offer. It had a tighter story, exciting set pieces, and genuine character moments that allowed us to love our favorite characters even more. It was everything we wanted in 2017 and more. Now, all eyes are on the Snyderverse continuing, but it looks like Warner Brothers isn't interested in seeing the Snyderverse through. In fact, Warner Brothers CEO Ann Sarnoff shot down the idea days after the film premiered on HBO Max. However, that won't stop fans from campaigning for the Snyderverse to be restored. After all, we know that Zack Snyder had tons of plans for the future of the universe, and he didn't shy away from teasing them in Justice League. Snyder's cut perfectly set up tons of new movies that fans really want to see. So let's dig into 10 DC movies that Zack Snyder's Justice League could have set up. Naturally, expect spoilers for the Snyder Cut. Atom. Ryan Choi was nowhere to be found in the 2017 version of the film, but he was a key asset in Dr. Silas Stone's lab in Snyder's cut of the team-up movie. At the end of the film, Choi becomes the director of nanotechnology at Star Labs. So, what makes this scientist so special that he deserves his own movie? Well, in the comics, Ryan Choi is one of the few characters who takes on the mantle of the Atom. Zack Snyder himself confirmed that he had plans for an Atom solo movie and he wanted it to be set in China with an all-Chinese cast. Ryan Jung, the actor who played Choi, is one of China's most popular stars, so it's an almost no-brainer for DC to pursue this project. Even if it isn't attached to the Snyderverse, though we hope it is, it could still do gangbusters in the Middle Kingdom and gain DC some leverage in a country where their films haven't been crazy profitable. If you thought Atom was the only new character on our list, wait till you see our next pick. Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter is one of the few new characters Zack Snyder introduced in his cut of Justice League. You'd think that Martian Manhunter would be a newcomer to Earth, but he was actually disguised as General Swanwick. During the film's final moments, the Martian Manhunter reveals himself to Bruce Wayne and offers to join the League for the impending war with Darkseid. It'd be interesting to see how the Martian Manhunter came to Earth and adopted the role of General Swanwick. Or better yet, to see exactly what happens when he flies away from Bruce Wayne. Is he going off-world? Is he getting allies from afar? The possibilities are frankly endless for a solo Manhunter project, especially if you tie it directly into the Snyderverse. But now, let's pivot to a project that's well into development. Wonder Woman 3. Considered by many to be the crown jewel of DC, the Wonder Woman franchise has done nothing but solid numbers for Warner Brothers. While the critical reception for Wonder Woman 1984 was disappointing, fans and critics are still looking forward to what Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot have in store for the third film of the franchise. Wonder Woman 1984 ended off on a closing note, teasing Linda Carter's Asteria as a key character in the sequel, but not much else. Well, Zack Snyder's Justice League hinted at Diana returning to Themyscira numerous times. It makes total sense for the Wonder Woman trilogy to end off with Diana in the present, dealing with the events of Justice League and returning to her motherland. It's been over a century since Diana stepped foot into Themyscira, and it would make for a great finale to see her return to her roots. Who knows, we might even see Diana and Asteria team up on the island that they once called home. Now, let's move on to another character from the League who deserves a much-needed sequel as well. Man of Steel 2. It's disappointing that Henry Cavill's Superman never got the cerebral treatment in the DCEU, despite his solo film kicking the Snyderverse off. Fans have been clamoring for almost a decade for a sequel to Man of Steel, and with the way Zack Snyder's Justice League ended, it's almost expected that we'll get one. Yes, we know that J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates are developing a Superman project at DC that likely won't be featuring Clark Kent, but fans still want to see Henry Cavill return as the son of Krypton. A proper Man of Steel sequel would see Clark Kent and Lois's relationship further developing, whilst also focusing on Superman's place in a world that now has so many heroes. Plus, Cavill's Superman now has that slick black suit, which makes the prospect of a sequel even more cool. This direct sequel could also be a great way for Snyder to return to the DCEU. But enough about heroes, let's talk about a villain project that the Snyder Cut sets up. Deathstroke. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker proved that audiences will show up to cinemas in droves for a compelling villain-centered movie if the story is just right. And from what we saw in the final moments of Justice League, we know the story for Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke is perfect. Hellbent on destroying Batman, free of charge of course, we can only imagine how fantastic a solo Deathstroke movie would be. We know Deathstroke has a grudge out for Batman, but we want to know more about him, how he became one of the world's most deadly assassins. Gareth Evans, best known for the wonderful Raid films, was at one point attached to direct a Deathstroke film that would take inspiration from Korean action thrillers. Unfortunately, the project never went anywhere, but with Deathstroke back in the conversation and Joe Manganiello ready to return to the character, it makes complete sense to have him lead his own movie. But the Snyder Cut didn't just set up a Deathstroke movie, it also set up the world's greatest assassin duking it out with the Caped Crusader. Batman vs. Deathstroke. We'll keep it short and simple. We want to see the beef that Batman and Deathstroke have against one another. The Snyder Cut perfectly teased the anger Deathstroke has for Batman, and it'd be amazing to see how that anger came about. Most of the live-action Batman films have focused on Batman's rivalry with the Joker, but it's time we see the world's greatest assassin duke it out with the world's greatest detective. We know that Ben Affleck is set to return as Batman in the upcoming Flashpoint film, so it'd be amazing to see Affleck return to face off Manganiello's character. Plus, a Batman vs. Deathstroke movie could function as a prequel to Ben Affleck's Batman character. We know that Affleck's original solo Batman movie was shelved, so this would be a great way to see more of Batman, as well as giving us further insight into one of his villains. But that's enough villain talk. Let's move on over to one of Justice League's crown jewels. Cyborg. Alright, this is the one we know everyone wants after Zack Snyder's Justice League. Ray Fisher was originally supposed to get his own solo movie as Cyborg, but, well, that never happened for obvious reasons. Fisher's first proper appearance as Cyborg was in the 2017 Justice League, and let's just say the film didn't do him any favors. But in Snyder's cut, Cyborg is front and center as the heart of the film, and dare we say it, probably its main character. Victor Stone's entire journey in Snyder's cut was heart-wrenching and emotionally captivating, proving that there's more to Cyborg than his metallic heart. We know Ray Fisher and Warner Brothers had a falling out, and while we won't get into it, it's a shame that currently there's no plans for him to return to the franchise. However, the Snyder Cut has taken the world by storm, and fans everywhere are petitioning to get the Snyderverse restored. Stranger things have happened, and we wouldn't be surprised if Fisher returned to Cyborg. The Snyder Cut perfectly ended with Cyborg coming to terms with his parents' death, but also understanding that he has a new family. It's the perfect setup for a solo movie that sees Cyborg exploring his powers and taking on villains that only he can stop. Now, let's move on to the stars to see our next project through. Green Lantern Corps. So we know that Jeff Johns and Greg Berlanti are working on a Green Lantern show for HBO Max, but what about the Green Lantern Corps movie that was announced all the way back in 2014? In the flashback battle against Darkseid, we saw Green Lantern Yalan Gur on the battlefield, confirming once again that the Snyderverse has Green Lanterns. Seeing Yalan Gur take on Darkseid was probably one of the Snyder Cut's coolest moments, and with fans waiting for a proper Green Lantern movie for over a decade, now seems to be the time to get the Green Lantern Corps movie going. And who knows, maybe Ryan Reynolds will be willing to return to the role of Hal Jordan. Speculation aside, let's move on to our final two films that the Snyderverse set up, and if you've been paying attention, you'll know they're quite obvious. Justice League 2. The brilliance of Justice League 2 is that we're going to know exactly how it ends because of the nightmare sequences that we've seen in Batman vs. Superman and Snyder's cut of Justice League, as well as comments made by Snyder himself. Darkseid will eventually make his way onto Earth, use the anti-life equation, and turn Superman against the team, and Lois will be dead because Batman failed to protect her. The film would have no doubt ended on a bleak note, and that makes us even more compelled to see it. This is what Snyder has been working towards since Batman vs. Superman, and it would be a disservice to not see it fulfilled. Justice League 3. Naturally, things don't just end with Justice League 2. The third film in the trilogy would have seen Barry Allen using his newfound time travel abilities to fix this whole mess, preventing Superman from turning into a genocidal maniac. And along the way, we would have seen Aquaman and Wonder Woman perish, as well as how Joker and Deathstroke factor into the Justice League's nightmare timeline. Yes, the Snyder Cut set all these exciting ideas up, but it's time we see how all the puzzle pieces fit together. For example, how would Martian Manhunter fit into all this? Would there be any Green Lanterns? What are we missing? Well, there you have it, 10 DC movies that the Snyder Cut could have set up. There were a ton of movies that we didn't get to touch upon, like the upcoming Flashpoint or the Aquaman sequel. Let us know in the comments what movies you want to see, and if you're interested in the Snyderverse being restored at DC. Make sure to keep an eye on Heroic Hollywood for all the latest entertainment news. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and check out our other videos. Thank you for watching.